Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film. This is our first hybrid event. We're doing screenings in person this year, and we're also doing screenings virtually. So thank you so much for joining us. We have some great programming this year. I'm so excited about this upcoming Q&A. This is a film that I adore called Port Authority. And we have Chanel Haley, who's one of our great programmers, who is speaking to the director of the film, Danielle Lessovitz. I'm gonna let those two get to it. So thanks again for joining us, and thanks for watching the Q&A.
Thanks. Nice to see you, Danielle. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. It's great. I'm in a car right now, and unfortunately I have to wear a mask, but I guess that's just part of the times we're living in. So thank you for having me.
That's right. That just shows your dedication to the film, that you are en route, but still interested in promoting and talking about this great film that I did watch about a little over a month ago. And so I'll jump right in because we're both probably short on time. When writing this, what was your inspiration around it? Like, what the idea come from that kind of sparked the idea of creating this film?
Well, I felt it was really strange that I hadn't yet seen at the time a film about a trans woman of color being loved. And I was like, what's going on with this? Because a lot of the times I've seen marginalized experiences exploited for their pain, and we watch the pain, and I'm like, no, like a lot of the trans women of color that I know are just confident, and they're celebrating themselves, and they have so much power and so much strength, and like, why aren't we seeing this? And they're loved, and of course life is hard, but can we dwell in their beauty and in their just contributions to the world, and honor them, and show someone who's unworthy of their love, unworthy of being with them. And that process of coming to recognize the limitations of oneself, and their inability to fully accept themselves and accept other people and all this stuff, and show that journey. Can we show that journey is what I wanted to do.
Good. I'm glad you said all that. Thank you, especially speaking as a Black trans woman, living in the South, especially, I never see that on film, or in television, period, or in books, or in the news at all.
Right. It's like, can we just normalize? Can we normalize loving trans women of color, like as if it's like, why not? Why isn't that a thing?
Right. And speaking of even when you thought about this and you were doing the casting, was casting for this hard? And was it already in your head that you wanted Leanne Bloom in it, or was this an audition process that took place?
Yeah, I was really open. I think I met every trans woman of color, I think between the age of 18 and 30, no, 60 actually, not for the role, but just in general, that responded to our casting post. So it was like a year of meeting people, interviewing, and just kind of getting to know the range of the experience, right? Because everyone there's no one way to be, right? So it's just like getting to know a lot of people, and yeah, there are a lot of women that were perfect for the role. I wanted to make sure that when I casted, it was someone that I had cast in person. And for much of this process, Lena wasn't in the US. And finally, when she came, I worked with her, I auditioned her, and she just was such a great actress. Like, she was just so powerful. And I played opposite her in some of these scenes, and I really felt in it. And she was just open and really easy to like work with. And it was just a dream connection, I would say, for this role. Yeah,
it worked out good. I mean, her star has certainly rose. The Sports Illustrated thing now, the cover, and it's just amazing that you now have her, who maybe before people didn't know who they were, but now they all do. And then there's your film is also connected to another big name, Martin Scorsese. And so he's listed as an executive producer. What was his involvement? Was it day-to-day, every now and then a check-in call? How did that relationship work out?
Yeah, it was more hands-off, I would say. Okay. Just kind of curating the material, being there for notes, things like this. But he's a busy guy, so just any any bit of his attention was well appreciated. Yeah.
Okay, well,
So,
so good
so
to
yeah,
have
there's,
it.
yeah. Say that again.
I said it was so good though to even have the nod and the support, right? I mean, that certainly
I
has
mean,
helped.
it was incredible. It opened a lot of doors, I think, to financing the film. It gave the film a certain visibility, which I don't know that it would have had otherwise. Yeah, I mean, it's always important to young filmmakers to have someone whose status and reputation can validate a project, and a project, I think, about a subject that's so important too. So yeah.
Speaking of visibility, how are you handling? Well, first of all, let's start with was it difficult to try to even get the film into festivals and to be viewed and seen? Because the reception has been great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's a polarizing film in some ways. Like, for some people, it's a subject that is really still hard to talk about and deal with openly. It's really interesting to see how it's responded. I mean, it did premiere at Cannes, which was like a big thing, and we had like a big moment for that. It's been very well loved and screened in Europe. In the US, it's been much harder. I don't know if it's our producers were French and they didn't know the strategy for applying to festivals and things like that, or just the subject matter is so, in the US it's really difficult to talk about certain things. It just is. And sometimes when you try to have a conversation, people want to shut that conversation down for whatever reason, both good and bad. And so I don't know, I think it's a film that was harder to be processed here, especially when there's just so much pain, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that even you saying that and going through that experience actually mirrors actually the real life and stories of trans people, especially trans women of color in America. So people really just want to talk about it, right? And then if they do, they're expecting a certain outcome. It goes even past that, maybe even the looks. If the character maybe was not as passable, it would be something easier for them to deal with.
Exactly.
If the end of the film was more tragic, it was something where they can deal with. It's just not something that they're used to seeing or know about, because this is not like this actually goes on in our lives every day, but people don't know about it because it's never been put in media before, right?
Yeah. My favorite part was because we sent this script to like so many people in the ballroom community, so many founders of the ballroom community, and we're like, and I had like just listened to all these stories, and I tried to really bring it into the script, and I'm asking people, does this feel real to you? Does this feel realistic? Would this happen? And everyone's like, I've seen this story so many times. Of course. And then you get the reviews and like, oh, this isn't realistic. This would never happen. And you're like,
Exactly.
you're not on the ground. You're not listening to what people are really experiencing. And here you are, like, you know, telling the world what isn't real, when I don't know that you're the expert of everyone else's reality. So it's really fascinating to see how these conversations unfold publicly.
It's in my hope that I think that, unfortunately, I mean, when you're the first or you're pioneering something, it takes different variations for it to become acceptable, perceivable within society. So hopefully this is a good chunk or stepping stone for films that come after this that actually are positive when it comes to relationships with trans people, especially of color, because we have seen maybe one or two of not of color, and that's, okay, well, maybe, but of color is not happening. And so maybe down the road, people will start saying, I guess this could be real. Which takes me to, if we wrap up, what message do you want people to get from this film when they watch it?
Oh my goodness, this is a really hard one. I want people to ask themselves, like, in their own lives, what's preventing them from loving or receiving love from people that they might not expect it to come from, or expect to have it too. To just question those, I don't know, their own biases, and to stop seeing people as representations of something, but rather just people, like, just as people. for whatever that means, good or bad, you know? So something like this, I guess, as simply as I can put it.
All right, Danny, good to have us all in therapy, reevaluating ourselves.
That would be great. I would love that. Prompt a group therapy session. That would be a dream. So yeah.
So before we wrap up, where can people see Port Authority? How can we reach out and see this? Is there a link or a theater or a website somebody can look at?
Sure. I think it's shifting. It had a theatrical distribution earlier this year in the summer. Right now, I believe it's on online platforms such as Amazon and iTunes, I believe.
Excellent.
So. Cool.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time as you're en route right now. But this actually, I remember back in the day there used to be film critic reviews that was done in a taxi cab. So this is a little retro. I liked it.
Exactly. Thank you for understanding.
Freeze.